Melanie, welcome so much to the show. I am so excited to have you here. Thank you for coming.
I am so excited to be here, Deanna. And as I mentioned to you before we got started, you and my daughter have the same name. So it's my favorite name.
I love that. I love that because we talked about it a little bit offline, but growing up, there were no other Deannas. People would actually ask if I was named after Deanna Durbin, who I don't know if you know who that is. You've heard that before too, which is an actress from many, many years ago. I didn't know who she was. The only reason I do is because my name is Deanna, and that was a question I got all the time. So I love it. Your daughter's my favorite person right now.
Awesome.
That's
Yay.
great. That's great. But Melanie, I am honestly like, I love having you on here, and I can't wait to really, I don't want to say pick your brain because I hate when people say that, but for you to share your expertise about being an author and really what it takes. But before we dig into all that juiciness, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So my life journey has not been very linear at all. It was pretty circuitous. I started out in celebrity PR in Hollywood, but when a celebrity told me off on my birthday twice, I said, "That's it, I'm done." And I got a master's in journalism, and I moved from LA to central Pennsylvania, worked as a radio news anchor and reporter for a few years, planned to have a baby in a non-election year, and got laid off when I was 5 months pregnant. So
Oh my gosh. You have had a crazy ride. Oh my
it's,
goodness.
oh yes, it doesn't stop there. I then moved across the country to Phoenix, where I am now with my family, and I decided to design and manufacture breastfeeding clothing. And I saw a need, and I really had this urge to fill this void. So I sold my clothes on Nordstrom.com, on Amazon, and then I made a big hiring mistake and brought on a marketing person who was toxic, paid her 25 grand to basically run my self-confidence into the ground. Then I
Oh.
closed the business and I said, "Now what?" And I realized that elevating people's voices had been the through line of my career, and that I wanted to continue doing that. And what better way than to help them market a book that they already had? And then I started seeing all the predatory behavior in the publishing industry, and experienced it myself, and ended up publishing my book under my own imprint after basically just throwing money at a publisher and then leaving it there and walking away. So now I help people who want to write books, specifically attorneys, wealth advisors, business owners who want to write a book for their reputation, for their marketing, to make more money. I help them not only write it, but publish it and market it. So it's all in one.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. And when you're talking, you mentioned about predatory behavior from publishers. Can you explain that a little bit more? Like, what are some signs that if somebody is new or they're thinking about writing a book right now and they don't know what they don't know at this point,
Yeah.
what what are some of the things that happen that could be a red flag for them?
Okay. So if they promise you the moon, think about that for a second. Nobody has control of the moon. They can't promise that to you. If they focus so much on the publishing and act as though all you need to do is publish a book and your life will change, that's a red flag, because
Mm.
it's what happens after you publish that matters the most. It's like if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it. Does anyone? So if nobody knows about your book, they're not going to buy it. It's not going to not going to give you a return on your investment. So, just do your homework, see what other people are saying online, ask a friend, see if if they've published a book, ask them what their experience has been. There was a big time publisher, a hybrid publisher that folded in the middle of the night and left a lot of people hanging.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and often another one is that the marketing is usually an upsell. So they'll be like, "Here's the book, and then if you want to market, we're going to just tack this on and tack this on." So I like to say I'm the pioneer of integrity in this industry. And so if you're not sure, trust your intuition, trust your gut. It's probably not right for you.
You know, that's great advice. Not only in this, but in every aspect of life, right? When you first said, if they promise you the moon, I'm thinking of all the bad dates I had before I was married. Right? I am like, it's really not that much different than, in relationships.
Right.
If it's, and then you ended it with, if trust your gut. If your gut is telling you this isn't right, listen to it. Your gut definitely knows.
Yeah, it really does. And I sometimes, when I do a presentation, I'll say to people, everything you have is already within you right now.
Yes.
All the answers, you already know them. So remember that.
Yeah.
You come in and you go, well, I don't know what I don't know. Right. And you don't want to have to figure out a new career in publishing on top of what it is that you already do. But definitely, use your good judgment.
Mhm. So I have a question for new authors. If they're in the process of writing the book and they know, let's just say January of next year, right? It's going to go live. It's going to be available to purchase. What are some things that they should be doing to hype it up, to build some excitement around that before it's even published?
So, first of all, I'm going to even go back a little bit because if you're launching a book in January, you may want to make sure that it ties to what people are thinking about in the new year. And
Oh,
if your book doesn't have anything to do with that, maybe wait until February or March to launch it because once it's the cat is out of the bag, and I know because I have a cat, it's really hard to put the cat back in the bag. So things you can do prior to launch are let people know you're writing a book, share your journey about writing the book, go through the book as you write it and share snippets of what's inside and say, and just use them as part of your marketing, as the
mm,
copy that you're writing. Your book will be a treasure trove of all the great things that you do in your business. So don't feel like the book is in its own silo. It's all part of it. And you could do fun polls like, hey, which cover do you like the best? Or and you don't have to take their answer if you don't like it
yeah.
and you already know what you want, but involve your community, have them engage with you about the book writing process.
I love that because you're asking them their opinion. And now they feel like they have some ownership,
Right.
right? In that book. So then they even want to support you more. That's such a cool idea. And I love what you said about waiting a little bit. Maybe, make sure it's the right time and what people are thinking about. I would have never thought about that. I would have been like, okay, it's out. Like, let's talk about it. But that makes so much sense. So thank you for sharing that piece. How long before it's published should you start promoting it? I heard somebody say one time, and here's why I'm asking this question. They are writing a book and selling, pre-ordering. You could pre-order the book. And they've told me that they did this, they've been doing it for 2 years, and the book might be out another year. And I'm like, I thought that was really long. Like if I pre-ordered something 3 years ago and didn't get it, I would feel like I kind of, got taken. So I felt that was long, right? And this is
I
somebody
agree.
who,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. Because I'm like,
That
is this just me that's super long? Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, that reminds me of someone I once knew who was going to get their PhD, but 10 years later still never got it because life got in the way. And you don't
That
have,
happens.
yeah, it absolutely does. But I think that that's significantly like a lot. I would say 3 months max. I mean,
Okay.
because you really want to already have a target date of publishing in mind before you start selling the book itself. But that's not to say you can't have a lead magnet or a free resource that gets people onto your email list prior so that they'll know when the book launches, right?
Great
And then they
idea.
get to know you and say, like, oh my gosh, she's awesome. I really want to get her book when it comes out. Because a book is not a high ticket item, but it's still an investment. So unless the book has a lot of reviews or it was recommended by a friend or the person knows who you are already, it's kind of hard to sell it.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. And I'm so glad you said 3 months and didn't agree with the 3 years because I was like, that's just crazy.
What were you
Um,
doing 3 years ago, Deanna? Like, what are you gonna be doing in 3 years from now?
I
Like, I
know,
don't
I
know.
know. And part of me wanted to actually pre-order the book until I heard it's another year and it's already 2 years in. And I was like, I don't no, I don't want to wait that long. I mean, I'll wait sometimes, don't get me wrong, but no. But
No,
anyhow, I appreciate that answer. And I know that it wasn't me that was crazy.
no, I am here to remind you, you are very sane. Go on.
Okay, so let's just say that, right? I'm an author. We've talked about, first off, I love the idea of using pieces in the book to repurpose as content. Being a digital marketer, like that is, you're speaking my language right there, right? But let's just say that somebody is like, you know what? I only have 1,000 followers and I don't have a big email list. I've got, 200 people on my email list. How can you are you stuck with that, or is there a way to reach other people's platforms? And if so, how do you do that?
You are asking me all the great questions that we are going to dispel all the myths and make everybody feel so much better. So, first of all, having 1,000 people that follow you is no small feat, and give yourself applause for that. Having 200 people on your email list who open your emails regularly, hooray! Like, these are not small things.
I love it. Yes.
Sometimes having a smaller but really engaged following, not sometimes, always having a smaller but engaged following will set you up for success way more than having 5 million people on your list who never open your emails.
Mhm. I
So all
agree.
that,
I am not disagreeing with you one bit. I
yeah,
love you
yeah.
saying this right now.
So with regard to leveraging your book to get on other people's platforms, that is the name of the game. So right now, we're going to be very meta for a moment. Deanna Hins, you have been so kind as to let me on your platform. I'm leveraging the book that I have. It's in the background if you're watching this video, and it's right there. There's another book right there. And so that's how I said, hey, I have a book. I would love to be a guest on your show. You looked at what I did and did all the things and said, yes, you are an expert in your field. I would love to bring you on my show. So guess what? Now I'm on your show and you are vouching for me as an expert. And you are being so kind as to share me and what I'm talking about with your audience of amazing, mostly women who are entrepreneurs, and they may be at the beginning stages, but they have a purpose. So that's how you grow your audience, because then now I'm going to be like really meta. You're going to might roll your eyes at me. I have a free resource, a free gift for your listeners. Right? And that
I
is
love it.
the
Yes, you
ultimate
do.
book marketing checklist, which you can get right now. It's at yourbigimpactbook.com/checklist. And so now, hopefully, somebody is going to download that link from that link. So now I've just grown my audience thanks to you for bringing me on there.
And I love it. I love that you kept it that real. Like, hey, let's use this example, right? I
Yeah,
need a guest. You need to reach outside of your circle. It's a win-win, right? You are an
absolutely.
expert. You've got great information. I know my audience is really interested in writing books because I've heard them tell me this time and time again that they want to write a book or they're in the beginning stages of writing a book. So I know you're going to bring value to my audience. And in return, you're going to reach them and hopefully sell that book. So I love the real life example that you just gave because it's so real. Like, I
It,
mean,
yeah,
being on podcasts is really, I mean, that's really a great tool to be on other people's podcasts.
it is almost, if not the best tool, because you could be on your local television. You don't know who's going to watch it, but it's still really good for your reputation, right? Like I was
Right.
on TV, but you go onto a podcast. Now, I know this because I used to work in radio. When you are talking into a microphone, you're only talking to one person at a time.
Mhm.
So you, the person that I'm talking to right now, you hear me in your ears. This is so meta, it's hilarious. And you and I are developing a relationship where you are listening to me talk and you are hearing what I say, and you know that I'm speaking to you. And when you're in a group setting, it's not nearly as intimate or engaging as on a
Mhm.
podcast.
Yes, it's so true. I love podcasts. I think they're great, and not because I have one, but I actually created it because I love talking to people, but I also listen to them as well because I learn so much, and there's just quick little snippets of great information. So I'm a big podcast fan. So I want to ask you another question, right? I'm going to ask you a lot of questions actually, but that's why you're here. I know a lot of times people are under the impression, and it may be true, it may not be true, I don't know, but I'm going to write a book and I'm going to make all this money. How realistic is that?
Yes and no.
Okay.
The book will net you $7 if you publish under your own imprint, like how I publish books. If you go with a hybrid publisher, it will be less because they're going to take a royalty share.
Mhm.
So it really isn't about book sales, especially as an entrepreneur. If you're writing a fiction book, some fantasy mermaid thing, yes, you need to sell books.
Yes.
But if you're writing a nonfiction book that you want to help, grow your brand and your business with, then you want to think of other ways to monetize the book. So perhaps it's developing a course based on the book, or it's sending the book out to your ideal clients who are then going to read it and call you and hire you,
I
or
love that.
it's getting speaking engagements where you then get to sell from the stage or they pay you to be there. So it's the book is the tool, the book is the lever. It isn't it's not a transactional piece as much as we often think it is. Well, I'm just going to sell books. And now that you have me on this tangent,
Yeah, go.
one of the things that irks authors the most and just makes them feel so bad about themselves is when someone says to them, "How many books have you sold so far?" So if that happens to you, here's the answer. You say, "It doesn't matter how many books I've sold. I have to tell you how much business it's brought me."
Oh, that's good. That's the perfect spin because it will bring you business because it builds credibility having a book,
Absolutely. Yes.
right? And
There's nothing better than that to build
there
credibility than
really
having a
isn't.
book.
There really isn't. So let's just say, I mean, are you able, even though the book may not bring w- book sales revenue, I'm trying to think of how I want to say it, may not bring revenue in book sales the way you may be thinking, but it's bringing business, probably more so. But what if you do want to create like this lasting impact and bring income in from that book? What what are some tips? Like, how do we do that?
Okay. So selling it in bulk is going to make you a lot more money than selling one-offs. So if you go pitch yourself to speak somewhere and you say, "Hey, can you buy all, 300 of my book to give to the audience?" That's one way to do it. You
That's
can
a
also
yeah.
you can
It's a good
bundle
idea.
you can bundle it with a package. So maybe you bundle the book with a program that you sell online. So
Mm.
you'll make money, you price it so that you make money from the book too. Um, but then there's the whole Amazon ads, which I am more into the organic marketing, but I have used ads and I can speak to them. A lot of authors think, well, I'll just pay for ads on Amazon. So, a couple of things before you do that, make sure you have about 50 to 100 reviews on your book.
Oh, wow. Is
That will help with getting the ads to work for you. And
interesting. Okay.
ads always want to look at whether you're paying more in ads than you're getting back in book sales. So that's always something. And if you need a good referral for that, hit me up. I'm very happy to refer you to somebody.
That's great. So if I decide to write a book, And I'm like, all right, I want to write this book, which I honestly have said I'm going to write a book and I haven't done it. I'm one of those people. Uh, and my husband would tell you that too. He'll every once in a while he'll say to me, "How's that book coming?" And I'm just like, whatever, because I haven't started, but I've heard this for so many years, like you have to write a book. Because I think as an entrepreneur, first off, and you opened up with this, our experiences are so different and so similar, right? It's a roller coaster ride. It's there are twists and turns on every corner that got us to where we are today. And so even though it looks different, it's the same. But back to my question, if I'm like, I'm going to write a book, uh, do I need to have a personal brand? Or if I don't have a personal brand, I'm just like, hey, I want to write something. Can I do that?
There's no box. You can do anything you want, but is it going to give you the ROI that you're looking for if you don't really have your message down and you don't really have a brand? Probably not. So I would
Yes.
say wait. Wait until you've refined your systems, you've refined your message so that you really know who you want this book to speak to. I have met many people who say, I wrote a book 10 years ago and I don't talk about it anymore because I do something else now.
I would still talk about it. Even if I did something else, I would still be like, "Oh, I wrote a book."
Not everybody does.
Yeah, I would. I definitely would. So after the launch, right, we kinda talked about how to build that hype going up to it, right? 3 months before, know what's happening, start hyping it up, promoting it, getting on podcasts, talking about it, and then you've launched your book. How do you keep that momentum going afterwards?
Well, I wrote an entire book about that because
Okay.
I have launch trauma. I have launch PTSD, not from book launch, but from program launch.
Yeah.
And so, in order to avoid anybody having launch PTSD, remember that it is way more important the long term vision than the launch itself. We get
Mhm.
so wrapped up in that I need to launch, I need that. No, think about
Mm.
the long term vision. What do you want your book to do for you? And let's plan that and then reverse engineer. You want your book to make it so that the person who's posting to Instagram for you every day has lots of things to post? Great. There you go. Check. You want your book to be a great lead magnet for you? Check. You want your book to give you that expertise that you can say, "Oh yes, I wrote a book and now I'd love to come and speak on your stage." So if you are looking long term, well, you want to look long term and not get so caught up in the launch piece. The launch is going to happen no matter what.
Yeah.
If once you put the book out there, that's the launch.
Mm.
So have a party, celebrate yourself, but remember it's more than that. It's a tool that you're going to continue to leverage for the rest of your business life.
I love that because I'm somebody that when I'm going through a launch of some sort, I put a lot of pressure on myself. And boy, I mean, I can set a number or, of new people to sign up for something, my email, right? Let's just talk about email subscribers. And if I don't hit that, then I'm beating myself up like, oh, I failed. What did I do wrong? How can I fix it? But what you just said, it takes that pressure off of that launch and you look at it totally different. And I love that because I'm like, that pressure would stress me out because
Yeah,
I would feel there's an expectation, a level I had to hit.
right. And we always attach ourselves to the outcome so much more than we even want to admit that we do. And so it's like, well, if I don't sell 30 books, am I a failure? Heck no, you published the book.
Right? That in itself it would be an accomplishment if I got to that point. Like, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. So what are some pitfalls that we can avoid when we're promoting our book?
Holding up your book in pictures and saying, look, I wrote a book every day is a lot. Remember that it's less about the book and more about the credibility and more about, if you want to sell the book, put that in your call to action. But at the same time, don't forget to mention that you have it.
Yes.
Once a week is good. After a while, you just say, "Oh, and hey, here's my book." And when you are talking about it, don't be in sentences like, "As I wrote in my book," because that makes people feel excluded and like you're putting on airs that you probably don't even
Mhm.
mean to be.
Now I'm gonna pay attention if I ever see that. Because I
Yeah.
don't know if I have, but I'm like, but I haven't paid that close attention where I'm sure it's like a huge red flag, and the minute you see it, you're like, "I see it." I see
I
it.
see it, I hear it, and I'm like, because it's like you want your book to be inclusive. You don't
Mhm.
want people to have to go grab it in order to know what you're talking about.
Right, right. That's
The
great.
book,
Now I'm
yeah.
excited.
Okay.
So let's talk about this freebie that you're giving away to my audience and this checklist. Explain it just one more time.
Sure. So the ultimate book marketing checklist, it gives you a set idea of what the things are that you're going to want to plan for when you are writing and launching a book. And there's also some like a worksheet area for you to really figure out what a lead magnet would be based on your book. Because it used to be that people would say, just send the first chapter of your book as your lead magnet. People will love that. And I've been on a crusade to say, no, that's nonsense. Nobody's going to read the first chapter of your book. It's probably not the best one, and they just don't care. So you can create a lead magnet based on your book. You will do well in growing your email list.
Oh gosh, that is amazing. And I've known authors who've given that first chapter away. So I kind of chuckled over here when you said that. And I agree. The first chapter, I'm somebody that whether I'm reading a book or watching a movie or a series that I've heard is amazing, the beginning is a struggle for me to get into on all of them, all across the board. I don't know why, but you get me like 2 or 3 in, and I'm hooked, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait for the next one." So, you're right, the first chapter is probably not the best one to be giving away.
Not at all.
So, if you want this freebie, you can just scroll down, the link is there, and you wanna give the URL one more time because it was pretty
Sure.
easy.
Yeah, it's yourbigimpactbook.com/checklist.
That's super, super easy. And the link will take you right there so then you can download your free workbook and checklist. And Melanie, thank you so much for coming on. This was such a great conversation. I learned so much from you. And I know that when I'm ready to write my book, you are going to be in the back of my mind. And I'm going to go through going, okay, Melanie said to do this, to watch for that. Don't do this, but this is great. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.